Hi everybody, it's Melissa from PPS Education Technology, and this is our second Google Apps office hour, and it looks like there's John Richter joining in.
Hello.
I don't have any audio for you, John.
You can't hear me? Okay.
So either your mic's not working, or you can try to plug in some earbuds or something. Maybe that'll...
Let's see. I'll see what I can find, okay? Sign language.
So while you're trying to troubleshoot that, you could also use the chat on the left-hand side if you want to say something.
Chat.
Are you on a PC or a Mac?
I'm on the Chromebook. Chromebook.
Chromebook?
Yes.
So should be working. I'm not sure why it isn't. And you're not muted.
No.
Let's see.
How about that? I just
I would also, why don't you try to disconnect from the Hangout and join again.
Okay.
So while we're waiting for John to come back into the Hangout, just a few reminders on the Q&A feature of Google Hangouts. So if you go to the event page where this Hangout is streaming, you should have the waffle icon in the top right. That's your apps launcher. And so if you click on that apps launcher, you should see a couple of icons. So the Showcase app features all the different website links that I have been putting in there regularly. So it has a link to the PPS Google Apps informational website. It has a link to the PPS Google Apps blog. It also has a couple of other links that are new this week. I put in a link to Google Classroom as well as a Google Classroom cheat sheet. So that's in the Showcase. And then if you want to ask questions, you need to click on that Q&A app that's featured there in the apps launcher. And at the bottom, you should be able to see a big blue button that says Ask a Question. Oh, interesting. So we have one viewer, John, and he says that he can hear you, but I can't hear you. So I don't know what the problem is.
Can you hear me now? So
interesting. So I don't have you muted or anything.
No. I have a...
But I am not getting audio from you for some reason.
Well,
Although people on the live stream are.
I'll just watch.
All right. So I am monitoring questions, so if you want to ask a question about Google Apps, feel free to do that using the Q&A feature. And I wanted to ask John what kind of buzz was going on in your school about Google Apps, but you can't say anything to me, or at least I can't hear you. Oh, that's good. You can write. That's awesome. I like how we're troubleshooting this Hangout. Excellent. There was a question, John, in the Hangout asking if you're going to be performing today. So while we're waiting for any other additional questions, I'm going to actually talk a little bit about Google Classroom so we don't have all this dead time just waiting for questions, and then John can write down some thoughts or something to share with us. But I wanted to just talk briefly about Google Classroom, and so I am going to show here the Google Classroom cheat sheet. And so this is just a document that was created by someone named Jen Judkins, and I adapted it a tiny bit. But the shortened link for this cheat sheet is bit.ly/classroom cheat sheet. And so this is also a link in the Showcase app, and so you can see some very detailed directions about how to manage and access classes, but I wanted to actually go through it as well just to show some basic features of Classroom. So let's go in, let me screen share Google Classroom. So when you go to Classroom, you can get to it a couple of different ways. So you can just go to the direct URL, which is classroom.google.com, or you can also actually, whether you're in your Chromebook or on the Chrome browser on a different computer, if you just go to your apps launcher, which again is the waffle icon, you should see that somewhere on your screen, either in the bottom left corner, in the top right corner, and you should see an option for Classroom that shows up. And so if you are going into Classroom for the very first time, you want to set your role as teacher, because it sort of screws things up if you choose student. So even though you select teacher, you can also be students in other classes. So for instance, if your building was going to do some professional development or wanted to have a book group or book study, somebody could create that in Classroom, and then other teacher colleagues could join that class. So you want to make sure you choose teacher at the beginning, and here in this view that you see right now, these are the classes that I have either joined or created. So this PPS demo class is one that I created, and then this test class is one that I joined. So if I go into my PPS demo class, you can see here that it has a stream right in the middle of the page, and this is where your particular class would come to see their assignments. And so you can see the students that are in this specific class. On the left here, you've got a class code, so you can give out this code and then people can join the class easily. So if I go back to home by clicking on this button here, and I click home, what you see in the top right here is this plus sign. So when you click that, that's how you create a class or how you can join a class. So if you have a code from somebody, you can join a class by clicking that. But then here in this stream, it allows you to share announcements or to assign things to students in your class. And so it's very much like Edmodo or a social networking wall, where you've got this right in the middle of the stream that you can post things to each other or assignments. So if I wanted to just say hello, I would type that in here. And you notice I can attach something. I can attach something from Google Drive. I can add a YouTube video, or I can add a link to this particular announcement. And I would just click post. And then it shows up here in the stream. If I wanted to assign something, I would just click the assignment button. It allows me to name the assignment, give a description, which is optional, add a due date as well as a time. And then if I wanted to attach some kind of template or something like that, so I can upload something from my computer, or I can go to my drive. And if I have, let's see, if I have a test document I can find here. So here's a test document. I'm going to add that. It's right here. And then on the right here, you have some options in this drop-down menu once you attach a template or something. Right here, I can say students can only view the file, they can edit the file, or I want to make a copy for each student. So this alleviates the problem of having one master document that then gets overwritten because people forget to save a copy to their own drive, and then people end up changing the template or whatever. But this automatically will make a copy for each student, and then you just say assign, which is awesome. And the other thing that's great about Classroom, it is so simple to set up, and it also creates all the folders for you and everything when you create assignments. So it creates folders for all the assignments that you create, and then when students turn those assignments in, they automatically go into that folder that was created. And so here it tells me that the assignment has not been done by the 6 people in my class. And so as people start turning them in, as students start turning in the assignment, this number would change and this number would change. So we've got some people in the class having a little discussion here in the stream, which is awesome. So I can add a comment. So then that's the stream. Over here in this middle at the top, you've got a students button. So this lets you see all the students in your class, and so you can message them. I can also check these boxes to remove people from class. In the About is where you enter information about the class, and this is also where you would put static information, like if you had an agenda for the whole unit or the lesson that you were doing, if you had a rubric that everyone was going to be evaluated on for that particular assignment. So in the About section, this is where you would put any kind of static resources that you wanted kids to have access to. So I'm going to go in and see if there are some questions from people and if we can answer them. So we've got a couple of questions that compare Google Classroom with Edmodo. And so let me see here. One of the questions here is, I am considering beginning my class on Edmodo, but now that we have Classroom, I don't know the benefits of one over the other. And that's from Michael Diltz at Access. So the services are very similar. The one advantage I'd say of Classroom that Matt Marchok also mentioned in the questions here is that Classroom's tied directly to Google Apps for Ed, and so everything works seamlessly with Google Apps, and kids do their assignments using Google Docs, and it's just really easy. It's very similar. Edmodo has some other features and stuff, but I say that because it's integrated with Google Apps, it's probably got a slight advantage. Of course, if you're somebody that has already been using Edmodo for a long time and it works for you, you don't necessarily need to start using Google Classroom. If you've been using Edmodo for a long time and you feel like this would just be another thing, I would say stick with Edmodo then. You can definitely just explore and experiment with Google Classroom and see if it would meet your needs in any way, and then maybe plan for a transition to using Classroom later on in the year. But if you're already using something that works for you, keep using it. Do you have any thoughts, John? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Busy, you've been right this whole time. I wonder why your audio isn't working.
I have no idea.
I don't know. I can try to troubleshoot it. Let's see. I'm not looking at video right now, so I don't know if you're holding a piece of paper because I'm trying to find out what we could do to see if we can get some audio for you. So I wonder, John, if you go down, let's see, if you go down to the bottom right corner where your login is, that little status area, if you click on that and that window comes up, is there something about like a microphone or settings for a microphone? Check that.
Now,
Oh.
can you hear me now?
No.
No? There is a bar in the middle top to mute microphone. Can you see this?
There's a bar in the middle to mute microphone. And that's on your Chromebook?
Yes.
And it's unmuted, I'm assuming, and it's still not working. Let's see what we've got here.
You can't hear me now either, right?
Okay, John, in the top of the Hangout window, you have a set of buttons, and there's like a mute microphone, mute video,
Yes.
adjust bandwidth usage. So click on that gear icon at the top, which is the settings,
Okay. Yeah.
and see if your microphone is set properly to be using the right microphone. Is it on default?
Yes, it's on default.
Is there also, when you go to that settings icon, is there, you have an option to test audio?
Let's try that.
So play test sound,
Yes.
but I guess
I hear it. I can hear it.
also when you go to that settings icon and you see the microphone option there, there is a drop down menu.
Yes. Right.
And choose, like, what do you have, a couple of different options or something, like external, internal microphone? Oh, default is gray, no drop down. So I wonder if it's grayed out, something's wrong with your microphone.
Hmm.
Because you can hear me, but I just can't hear you.
Right. Yeah.
So let's see. So we've got some other viewers saying that they can all hear you, so I'm the only one that can't hear you. Well, let's see. I don't see any other questions right now. So as we wait for some other questions to filter in, or John, if you have questions, I will try to multitask and troubleshoot the audio while you're writing questions or something. Here's a good question that's very popular. When will we be able to print from the Chromebooks? So, IT is very close to coming up with an enterprise district-wide solution to printing for Chromebooks. So, we have tested a setting with Windows Print Server and Google Cloud Print that seems to be working at the one school we're testing. We still need to test it further to make sure that we've got all the settings correct and everything. So I'd say probably within the next month that should be coming out, that announcement. If you want to print right now, the recommendation that we have been saying is the easiest thing is to just log into your Google account from a computer that already prints to print, or if you feel comfortable, go ahead and install Google Cloud Print on your own Chromebook.
Okay.
And so if you just Google how to install Google Cloud Print, you'll find directions for that. And sometimes, though, when I've installed it on different machines, you get stuck in this weird loop. And so just know that it's not an IT-supported solution. So if you were to call the IT service desk saying, I can't figure out Google Cloud Print, they might not necessarily help you because it's not supported. But I'm just telling people, if you are comfortable doing stuff like that technologically, then you should just go ahead and do it. Figure it out. So John, on your Chromebook, you're logged in with your apps for PPS.net account. Is that true? Mm-hmm. Okay. While you brought up that printing question, I'm going to do another screen share here. Because I want to show the Google Apps website. So this link is in the showcase, and so this is the PPS Google Apps website. And what I want to show is on the left-hand side, right at the top under the Welcome header, there's a section that says PPS FAQs. So if you click on that, it goes to the PPS FAQs page. And there are some questions at the top, but if you keep scrolling down, there's this nice compilation of questions that we've been tracking from all the different trainings and the people that have contacted us. And so it's basically a how do I section. So for instance, how do I transfer Google Docs from one account to another? That's been a very popular question. So there are several different ways to do that. And you can see within all of these questions, the answers are right underneath, and it basically links to a place where you can find directions for doing some of these things. So for instance, how do you connect your Chromebook to a data projector? How do you edit and open Word files or other Microsoft Office docs? How do you print, which we just talked about. So any new questions or new to-dos that I get from teachers that ask me how do I do something, I will add it onto here. And so it's slowly getting longer and longer. But again, this is a great place to just spend some time exploring, as well as this Learn More section on the left. I keep adding links to that sidebar as well. And I just added this 30 ways to use Chromebooks for education. So I know that not every school has Chromebooks for students, but good slide deck to look at to get ideas about ways to use Chromebooks. So that just goes to somebody's presentation that they created. All right. So John, what other questions do you have?
Let's see.
So John is at Sunnyside. And then what's the one question I have for you is how many teachers in your building are using Google Apps? So while John is writing, I'm going to answer another question it looks like we got here. So this question is from Janny, and she is asking, will elementary have student accounts, and will they have Blogger open? So all student Google Apps accounts are supposed to be ready in mid-September, which is basically next week. I don't know the exact date next week, but next week is mid-September. So all student accounts should be created by then. Blogger will be open, as far as I know. I have not heard that that's going to be closed. The only thing that's not open for students is Gmail, and that's off for staff as well. And Google Plus is not open for students. But everything else is open. About a quarter to a half of you are using Google Apps. Cool. Awesome. Most are using their Chromebooks. That's good. Are you supposed to be hearing others? No, because only you're the other person in the Hangout, the only person you can hear is me. So if there were other people in the Hangout, you would be able to hear them as well. So in Google Apps for Ed, in a Hangout for Google Apps for Ed, you can have 15 people join, including the host or the person that starts the Hangout. In regular Google Hangouts, not Google Apps for Ed, you can only have 10 people. And so with Google Apps for Ed, you get an extra 5 people.
Thank you.
right, I don't see any other new questions. The other thing that's awesome about the Hangouts on Air, so we're utilizing this Q&A feature, and what I love about it is that I'm reading some questions simultaneously while I'm talking, is that you can vote on questions. So people that are watching the live stream, you can actually see questions that other people have typed in. And so if you click on the +1, that's a vote for the question. And so it basically lets me look at how many votes certain questions have gotten, so I can answer the questions with the most votes first. Let's see, so I see a question here, Matt Marchok, who's one of our new district tag technology TOSAs. It's not really a question, but he said, we presently can't log into Blogger with our apps for PPS.net accounts. Interesting. So let me test it and see if, oh, actually, let me see if I can log into it. So Blogger is the desktop blog publishing tool that a lot of people use right now. And so actually I am getting to it, Matt, and I've logged into it. So I'll have to check, and I just went to blogger.com actually, and then I was already logged into my apps for PPS account, so it shows all of my blogs and everything that I have associated with my apps for PPS account. So I'll check on settings, but I'm pretty sure that that is already open. Let me So it looks like Janny said that she hasn't had any problems with Blogger, and Matt is saying initially he couldn't log in and now he can. So there doesn't seem to be a problem with that, which is good. What else do you have, John? Any other questions that you've been trying to figure out with Google Apps? Yep, I think that's the case with most teachers. A lot of teachers I don't think have even used Google Apps yet because it's the beginning of school, there's too much to do. So I think that's pretty common. So another question from Janny regarding blogs. She's concerned with students creating blogs and having them open to the outside world. Will they lock it down so only people in the building can comment? So when you're creating the blog, you can create it so the permissions are only people within the domain have permission to comment, or only people can find the blog within the domain. So you should play around with setting up a blog with those different permissions. So it shouldn't be such a big deal, because you should have that option to keep the external commenting out of your student blogs if you want. So again, just check your blogger permissions on how you want people to be able to find the blog. So John, have you restarted your Chromebook recently? Or usually is it just asleep? I wonder if you did a hard restart, if you actually shut it down and then restarted it, if that would solve the audio problem. I think we're coming to the end of our time, so I don't know that you necessarily need to try it right now, but if you wanted to, you could. Okay. While you're doing that, I'll just wait for other questions to filter in, and I'll troubleshoot, see if I can find any more information about the audio problems you're having. The other thing I can also mention is the Oregon Summit featuring Google for Education is on the State In-Service Day, which is Friday, October 10th. This summit happens across the state in different locations, and PPS is actually the host this year, which is great since it coincides nicely with our Google Apps for Ed rollout. But it will be at Jackson Middle School. It's free. Lunch is provided. There's some light breakfast fare provided, but it is a full day of all Google Apps professional learning opportunities that people can attend, and it's awesome. It's really fun. So I would recommend, if you don't have something going on that day already, to join us at Jackson Middle School on Friday, October 10th. So Janny's asking me another question about the blogs. So yes, there's a difference between students changing the settings, but you should be able to set this. You should be able to change the settings as the person creating the blog, and if you add students as team members of the blog.
Okay, I'm back. Can you hear me?
I still can't hear you, John. Interesting. Maybe we'll get it figured out next time.
Okay.
So I'm going to say, any other last questions? Please ask them now.
I still have gray.
So these Hangouts for the month of September, we're having them every Thursday, so there's a couple left, but if you go to the, let me see here, the PPS Google Apps blog, which is right here, I think I added them. Oops, I guess I didn't post the they're not on this page. They're on the PPS Google Apps website. So this page, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. Under Help and Support, there's a PPS Google Apps Office Hour link. And so when you click on that, it goes to a page that has direct links to all of the live streams and everything. And so it's the same link to watch the live stream as it is to watch the recording. So they're all linked right there for you. So last week's, we didn't really have that many questions, but starting today, with today's session, I did a little thing on Classroom. So the next two office hour sessions, I'll try to just do a little tutorial or a little feature on some aspect of Google Apps that has been really popular with teachers in terms of questions. So we'll do that. All right, John, anything else from you? You're welcome. And we'll see y'all next time.
Okay.